Hey guys, this is Goblin King Bob, and I'm going to do a deck tech on Roon of the Hidden Realms. He is one of my EDH commanders. I actually took him to a local shop and won an EDH tournament with him tonight. So I figured that was worthy of a deck tech, so let's get started. He's a 5 mana, 2 colorless, 1 green, 1 white, 1 blue, with for 4/4 with vigilance and trample that you can pay 2, exile target creature, and return it to the battlefield under its owner's control at the next end step. So pretty much what the deck does is it's going to run off his effect. I've got blinking effects in the deck. A lot of creatures will enter the battlefield with effects, so the deck's not real spell heavy. But it worked out and did its job, so we're going to go through the deck. Start with the lands. I'm running 5 of each basic land, so it's 5 forests. Five island. Five plains. Alright. I didn't spend too much money on the lands in the deck. If I had the dual lands, I ran them. If I didn't, oh well. The deck worked just fine with the way the mana base is right now. So we're going to start with the non-basic lands. We got Evolving Wilds. Comes into play. You can tap it and sack it to go fetch basic land. Terramorphic expanse does the same thing as Evolving Wilds. Bant, panorama. It taps and adds 1 colorless to your mana pool, or you can pay 1, tap, sack it, search for a basic island, plains, or forest. Transguild promenade. Pretty much it's a new version of Rupture Spire. Comes into play tapped. You have to pay 1 colorless to keep it or sack it. Rupture Spire. Azorius guildgate. It is the blue-white guildgate. Comes into play tapped. Hallowed fountain. Shockland for blue-white. Azorius chancery, which is the bounce land for blue-white. Glacial fortress, which is the buddy land for blue-white. Sejiri refuge, which is the life gain. Come and play. You gain 1 life, and it comes to play tap land. Selesnya sanctuary, which is the bounce land for green-white. Selesnya guildgate. Saltcursted steppe is the counter land, or the charge counter land for green-white. Yavimaya coast is the sting land for blue-green. Temple of mystery, which is the scry land for blue-green. Breeding pool, shock land for blue-green. Hinterland harbor, which is the buddy land for blue-green. Temple of the false god. It's pretty much a commander staple. You got 5 or more land. It taps for 2 colorless. City of brass, taps for any color and stings you for 1. And then the seaside citadel, which is the tri land for bant. Now we're going to get into the non-creature spells of the deck. Passive exile. It exiles target creature and its controller searches for a basic land. Puts a play tap. Cloud shift exiles a creature you control and brings it back into play. Museum skins for 1 blue, it gives 1 of your creatures hexproof, or for 1 blue and 1, it'll give all your creatures hexproof and +0/+1 to end turn. Soul Ring, pretty much EDH stable, taps for 2. Cyclonic Rift returns target permanent you don't control to its owner's hand, or you can overload it and it returns all non-land permanents you don't control to their owner's hand. Dark Steel Mutation pretty much stops something that you don't want on the field, creature-wise at least. Semi-signet, which is the artifact that lets you pay 1 color less and you tap it for a green and a blue. Selesnya signet, same thing, opposite, lets you tap for a green and a white. Swiftfoot boots gives a quick creature hexproof and haste. Lightning greaves gives your creature haste and shroud. Otherworld journey will blink a creature and comes back into play at the end of the end of the turn with a 1/1 counter on it. Flicker form is an enchant creature that you can pay 4 and blink it and any auras on it from the game and then bring it back into play. I run too many creatures enchantments in the deck, so it's just to flicker forth a creature back and forth. Survival of the fittest. Pay 1 green, discard a creature card, search your library for a creature card, reveal it, and put it in your hand. Like I said, the creatures have a lot of end of the battlefield effects, so if you've got one that's not going to help you at that point in time, and you can grab another one that will, by all means. 1,000-year elixir is in here for Roon. He comes into play, and I can go ahead and use his tap effect, and for 1 colorless and tapping this, I can untap him. Gift of Immortality. It's an enchant creature. Whenever an enchant creature dies, you bring the creature back to the battlefield. At the next end phase, you re-enchant it with Gift of Immortality. Jace the Mind Sculptor, using occasionally for his roll down, but most of the time just for the brainstorm. Rider Application is, well, there's nothing really you can say about that. It's just a good card. If you're running blue, you should run it. Fadalkin Quarry is gives all non-land permanents you control flash. Alright, Aether Mage's Touch, reveal top 4 cards of your library. Choose a creature card, put it onto the battlefield, and at your next end step, you bounce it back to your hand. So, pretty much, if you need a blocker right then, you've got one, hopefully. And if not, it's just an enter the battlefield effect, hopefully. Alright, we got Venser. Pretty much in here for his flicker effect. His roll down's pretty good too with the unblockable. I do get a pretty bit of creatures out. And I got a couple of ways to make them kind of big, so works out. Cawthon's Crusade. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you put a 1/1 counter on each other creature you control. This enchantment is one of the win conditions in the deck. You can make all your creatures huge, because like I said, you're going to have a crazy amount of end of the battlefield effects, and you're going to keep blinking your creatures back and forth, so it works out. Overwhelming Stampede. Real awesome card in the deck, especially when you got Crusade out and you've already got a couple of counters on your creatures. They're pretty big. Gives them all +X and trample, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. Really, really great card. Conjurer's Closet. It blinks a creature at your end phase. Alright, now I'm going to move on to the creatures. So we got Essence Warden. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield, you gain a life. Soul's Attendant, same thing. Soul Warden, same thing. Snapcaster Mage. Like I said, I don't play a lot of spells, so he's kind of in there to flashback some of the good ones, like the Overwhelming Stampede and the Path of Exiles, the Journey, something to blink something. He's really good for the deck. Wrist Sweeper, a really, really, really awesome card. I pretty much use him in his deck to tuck other people's commanders in their deck. It's a real douchey move. I don't do it most of the time in free play, but in tournaments, you play to win in tournaments. So when he comes into play, you choose a card that's exiled and shuffle it into its owner's library. So it comes into play, the command zone is technically exiled from the game. choose their commander, and they have to shuffle it. Of course, Skyfisher, whenever it comes into play, you return target permanent you control to its owner's hand. Calling Oracle comes into play, roll top card. If it's a land, put it on the battlefield. If not, put it in your hand. Mist Meadow Witch. It's a 2-mana 1/1 that for 4 you can blink a creature. Elvish Visionary comes into play and draws you a card. Wall of Omens comes into play and also draws you a card. Whitemane Lion has flash. When it comes into play, it returns target creature to you control to its owner's hand. Gilded Drake. This is one of the most nastiest creatures in this deck because of Roon's effect and as much blinking as I can do with it. Because even though you change control of it, when you blink it, Roon says bring it back into play under its owner's control. You own the card. So you play it, you take whatever you want, whatever creature you want from them, exchange it. You know, at the end of their turn, blink it with Roon. It comes back into under your control. Exchange it for something else you want. It's really nasty. Flickerwisp, when it comes into play, exile target creature until the end of turn, and then bring it back into play. Eternal Witness, whenever she comes into play, you get a card back from your graveyard. Farhaven Elf, whenever it comes into play, you get a basic land from your deck into play tapped. Pilgrim's Eye, same thing, search your library for a basic land, opposite if it goes to your hand. Man of War, when it comes into play, it returns target creature to its owner's hand. Sakashima the Imposter, when she comes into play, she's a clone. She clones target creature, and then you can pay 2 blue and 2 to bounce her back to your hand. Really great card. Stonehorn is awesome in this deck. If you're playing someone that's a little bit more aggressive than you, or they've got bigger creatures than you can make it where they can't attack, because you can make your creatures unblockable with Fencer and everything, so it works out. Phyrexian Metamorph, real crazy in this deck. Just keep bouncing it and cloning whatever you want to clone. Of course, clone, you're running blue and you can just make it enter the battlefield a lot, so yeah, clone. This is a card you don't see too much anymore. It's a Seth Tiger. When it comes into play, you choose a color and you gain protection from that color into a turn, which is really crazy. So you're playing someone that's doing a little bit of burn, you know, you gain protection from red. Problem solved. Mystic Snake, whenever it comes into play, it counters a spell. Angel Finality, when she comes into play, she exiles a graveyard. This is pretty much for the reanimators, kind of stops them. Gleneldra Archmage, you can pay 1 blue, sacker, and counter target non-creature spell, which is a really awesome effect. Especially with Roon, you can use her ability. She comes back and play with Persist with a -1/-1 counter. And then, you know, at the end of their turn, use Roon, and she comes back into play without the counter. So it works out. Resto Angel, it pretty much blinks a creature. Acidic Slime is real nasty with Roon. You can keep popping and destroying artifacts, enchantments, or lands. Karmic Guide gets a creature back from her graveyard. Seedborn Muse lets me untap all permanents I control during each player's untap step. Really good with the deck because untaps Roon and untaps all your lands, so you can do things during your opponent's turn, especially if you have the Vidalcan Quarry out. It's really crazy. And Thragtusk, really good because play you're going to gain the 5 life, and then you can just start blinking him, and you get 5 life and 3/3 tokens every time you do it. Really nasty in the deck. Prophet of Crucifix. Pretty much as seedborn muse, always it gives your creatures flash. So that's really, really good with this deck. Maul Drifter gets you a card. Prime Speaker Zegana gets you multiple cards and she gets bigger. Armada Worm comes into play for 6 as a 5/5 trampler, and you get a 5/5 green worm token with trample on the battlefield when he comes into play. And Deadeye Navigator. This deck is real awesome if you get him on the field and you've got something really good to target. Especially like the Armada Worm, it's just 5/5 tokens as many times as you can blink him. And then if you've got Seedborn Muse on the field, it just gets crazy. The Mimic's really good. It comes to play, it clones something at the beginning of your upkeep, you get a token of it. So sometimes I don't always clone my creatures. If someone has a, like I was playing one guy a couple days ago with his deck, and he played Bookgarden Hellkite. So I copied his Bookgarden Hellkite, and I was burning stuff for 5 every turn. So it's really good. Bane of Progress is in there for these the heavy artifacts or heavy enchantment running decks that like Voltron. I can get rid of the artifacts and he is bigger. It's a really good card. Great Will. You don't hardly see this anymore either. He is a 7 mana 5/5. That sounds kind of horrible, but I run him because when he comes into play, you can untap 7 lands. So he's pretty much casting himself for free once you have the 7 mana. And then you can blink him on your turn and he'll untap your land, which is really, really awesome. Alright, we got a Sylvan Primordial. When it comes into play, for each opponent, you blow up a non-creature permanent. For each permanent destroyed this way, you go get a forest. So it's pretty much, if they've got stuff I don't like that's non-creature permanent wise, I'll just blink him in and out and destroy as much of it as I can. Angel of Serenity. She, believe it or not, I use her to get my spells back from her graveyard a pretty good bit because I can't, excuse me, creatures back from the graveyard, I'm sorry, because I can't really reanimate too much except for the common guide, so my creatures die, she's a way to get them back, from the graveyard, so she's pretty good with the deck. And last but not least, we got Avengers in the car. This deck is crazy if you have the Crusade out and you drop this guy and you can keep blinking him in and out. It's just so many 1/1 counters on your stuff. It gets really crazy. I wish Primeval Titan wasn't banned, because if you could do that and then Primeval Titan a couple times, make huge plant tokens, it'd be really crazy. But he's banned, so they won't let us do that right now. But that's pretty much the end of the deck. If you guys would leave me some comments at the bottom, subscribe by all means if you want. I've got some more EDH decks that I'm going to post up, and I'm working on some more standard decks for you guys that have been watching my standard stuff. Sorry I haven't posted anything in a while. I've just been pretty busy with work and everything. But if y'all guys want to leave me any comments, ask me any questions, by all means, go for it. Thank you.